SoFi CEO Anthony Noto recently had an interview with CNBC where he reaffirms basically every single point of the well-versed SoFi longs that talk about these things on a daily basis. He gives us commentary on growth of the different business segments, rate cut expectations and outcomes, student loans and generally when lending will pick up again, stock price performance, artificial intelligence, and who he wants to win the presidential election this year. This was an absolutely action-packed interview that's honestly a must-watch for any SoFi investor or someone who's looking to open a SoFi position. After I watched this interview, I bought even more shares. And if you know anything about me, you know that I am very heavyweight on SoFi. It's already a massive position for me, but I actually bought even more shares after watching this interview. Pretty much every time I hear Noto speak, I get just a little bit more bullish. This guy is an absolute stud. He's the real deal. One of my favorite CEOs to listen to in the entire stock market. Let's jump into it with the interview. The first clip I want to look at, Anthony Noto does a couple things. One, he flexes a little bit and says, hey, yeah, we took a really conservative view of saying that there was only going to be 1 to 2 rate cuts in 2024. And it looks like that's exactly what's going to play out. So he basically says, yeah, we were right on that. And the way we positioned ourselves was to chill a little bit on lending until we have a clearer picture of the macroeconomic environment. While we do that, we're going to invest a ton of our resources and efforts into growing the technology platform and the SoFi Money and SoFi Invest, all the other parts of the business that are not the lending side. And that he feels as though they absolutely made the right call with how they position themselves going into 2024. Check it out.
You've been introducing new things such as alternative investments, but also you mentioned you're not doing as many student loans. What is behind that policy and where are you shifting your focus to effectively follow or lead consumers and where you want to be growing the business?
Sure. As we came into 2024, there was a view that actually rates would be cut 4 or 5 times. And we believed that for rates to be cut that frequently, there would have to be a recession or some type of underlying problem. It turns out we'll get 1 to 2 rate cuts, which is where we've been positioned. And as we thought about the environment and thought about how much we invested in our financial services business, our SoFi Money product, our SoFi Invest product, our credit card product, as well as our technology platform, we had an opportunity to drive really strong growth there at 50% and really pull back in the lending business to be more conservative, to wait to see where the economy shakes out, where interest rates shake out. And now we're coming into a picture where that's a lot clearer. So we've delivered really strong growth without really using the lending business to help drive it. And now we're in a position where, as we go into 2025, to use both.
So as you can see in that clip, he very slyly says, yeah, we were right about rate cuts. And now moving into the back half of 24 and through 2025, we're not only going to have that crazy growth in our other 2 business segments, the financial services and the tech platform, but now we're going to bring lending growth back into the mix too to put SoFi's growth in the best possible spot for 2025. And then in the next segment, he gets asked about student loans, and he takes that opportunity to flex even more and say, our process is working. We had 26% growth in Q1 with absolutely no growth at all in the lending segment, and that their investment in other areas of the business is really paying off for them. Check it out.
But how does Biden's efforts to repay student loans impact your business, and how do you see some of these legal changes and sort of the whole appeals process and the outcomes impacting your business going forward?
Yeah, we've really focused on people that have private student loans. Those are people that are still managing their cost and giving them cost savings on refinancing their private student loans, and that's been a smart strategy. It's a much smaller percent of our business. We gave guidance that we'll do close to $2.5 billion of revenue this year. We'll see really strong growth from the other businesses, so we're much less dependent on it. The fact that we grew 26% year over year in Q1 with no growth in lending overall is a great indication that we've invested in other areas that are really paying off for us. And the response that we're seeing for consumers in our SoFi Money product with 4.6% interest rate, SoFi Invest product, as you mentioned, offering them alternative assets and now IPOs, we've seen a great response there, and it's allowed us to go after other growth areas and not be so vulnerable to the whims of where the political or winds are blowing as it relates to student loans. I will say this, we've done well with a high rate environment and uncertainty around credit. I'm really excited about what will happen when rates start to come down, and you can start to see the light at the end of the tunnel. When rates come down, we'll see a real pickup in student loan refinancing. Right now, there are people with rates at 7 to 8% student loans, but we only can offer them in the 6s. As rates come down, we can start to offer them in the low 5s and maybe in high 4s. So that business will pick up. Our home loan business had historically been a refinancing business. We've invested a lot in being able to do purchase home loans, and we're now seeing that pick up and gaining market share there. And we've recently made the decision on home equity lines to give people even lower cost of debt. So as rates come down, we'll see a real pickup. And as long as the economy is stable and inflation is stable.
And then in the back half of that clip, he starts to talk and hint at that one thing that's really going to get SoFi to move up in a massive way. And it's getting lending growth back in the mix after these rate cuts. Whenever rates come down, they're going to be able to offer more attractive interest rates to their customers than their peers. And as a result, not only student loan refinancing, but also home loan refinancing and other types of loans are going to pick up in a massive way. And this is going to be, in Anthony Noto's opinion, that next leg up for SoFi stock price. He doesn't directly say that, but he's definitely hinting at it. And I think the interviewer started to pick up on that, so she took that opportunity to talk about stock price performance. And Anthony Noto has honestly the best possible answer that a CEO can give you whenever their stock price has been in such a downturn. We know that SoFi this year is down over 20%. We had a little bit of a pop today as I'm recording this video, but the stock is absolutely underperforming the index like crazy and underperforming so many growth stocks that are up 100%, 150% this year, etc. The stock is down this year. And this is despite extremely strong fundamentals. Check out what Anthony Noto has to say about it.
You've mentioned various ways that your business is growing, but your stock is way down. Stock's down about 35% year to date, down about 19% since your last earnings report. I know that you have earnings coming up in a few weeks, so you're limited in terms of how many specifics you can share. But what's your message to investors? Why should they hold on when the stock is down so dramatically?
Yeah. The thing that we can control is our strategy and our execution. And for the last 7.5 years, our strategy has been consistent and our execution has been consistent. We've driven good, steady growth. When I joined the company, we had less than $300 million of revenue in 2018. Now we're over $2 billion of revenue. We weren't generating profits. We weren't generating positive EBITDA. Now we're generating both positive EBITDA and GAAP profitability. So I'm really pleased with what we're doing. In terms of the stock, I'm equally disappointed. I'm a big investor. Our employees are large investors. What we've seen and what we believe is happening is that the group of fintech companies that have credit exposure has been really hit hard. And they've been hit hard because of the uncertainty around interest rates. When will interest rates peak and when will credit peak? And as I mentioned, we're really pleased with where credit's performed. We expected it to pick up a little bit, but it's within our tolerance levels. So good sign there. And as I mentioned, 1 to 2 rate cuts would be welcomed and moving in the right direction.
And that is the perfect answer and an amazing reminder to long-term shareholders that the stock and the business are not always perfectly connected. Sometimes, oftentimes actually, business fundamentals can be in an amazing spot. The company can be as strong as they've ever been, growing like crazy, and in SoFi's case, flipping the profitability corner, going from net loss to net profit, and the stock is still down. So he makes a very, very clear point that says the fundamentals are in an amazing spot. We are extremely proud of what we're doing with the company. The stock price performance is disappointing. He says himself, he's disappointed in the stock price performance. His employees are disappointed in the stock price performance. All investors are frustrated about the stock price performance, but what they can do is focus on the business fundamentals and wait for the market to agree that SoFi is an amazing company and an investable company. And then the interviewer switches up a little bit and starts to ask about AI. How is SoFi going to use artificial intelligence to empower the consumer? And once again, Noto had an incredible response. Check it out here.
What about AI? Will SoFi be the one to bring AI to retail banking, and will that really accelerate your results?
Yeah, there's a whole spectrum of technologies that we use every day to ensure that our product is safe, it's reliable, and we can be a trusted partner. Where we want to use AI is to fortify those areas, but we also want to use it to answer 3 questions every day. Because this is a financial show and we operate in a financial world, people want to talk about interest rates and consumer spending. We don't spend a ton of time talking about the product, but we are a product company, and my vision for the product is that you open up SoFi every day and you go to your member home feed just like you would to your Twitter home feed or your Facebook home feed or LinkedIn home feed, but we answer 3 questions for you in a personalized way. What must you do in your financial life that day? What should you do and what can you do? AI allows us to take all the data about you and everyone else and answer those 3 questions.
So not only did he talk about potentially using AI to increase their safety and reliability and trust, but he also talks about it from a heavily customer-focused view, where he said using the homepage of the SoFi app, a consumer can find the answers to these 3 questions. What must I do today? What should I do today? And what could I do today with my money? Beautifully said, and awesome to hear the vision around the SoFi app moving forward. And then the last question was about who Noto wants to win the presidential election in 2024. And in a nutshell, he basically says he is generally socially liberal, but he is fiscally conservative. That's basically what he's saying in this clip. See if you can see what I'm talking about. Check it out here.
Just a final question about politics, because I know the conversation about the presidential election is front and center here in Sun Valley. What outcome do you think would be best for the economy and for your business in particular?
Well, I'll make an analogy. I went to West Point and I played football, and I want Navy to win 364 days of the year. But on that one day when they play Army, I want Army to win. And so I'd be lying to you and being, less than disingenuous if I didn't say our business would benefit from a Republican administration. There's more capital markets activity. There's more M&A activity. I want our country to be very strong and vibrant. And on one particular day, I'll be rooting for one particular party.
Perfect political answer to a great political question. Love to hear it from Noto. This was a great interview, and I want to see Anthony Noto continue to do interviews like this with CNBC and other big financial news outlets. My confidence and conviction with SoFi is as high as ever because the business fundamentals are literally better than they've ever been, flipping to profitability, being profitable on a GAAP basis multiple quarters in a row, and they're going to continue that. And the picture is only getting better in the back half of 24 and 25 as we start to get these rate cuts. I made a video a few weeks back about SoFi stock being absolutely stuck until this one thing happens. That one thing, if you didn't watch that video, was rate cuts. It seems like Anthony Noto agrees with that in a massive way. He said about 3 or 4, maybe more than that times, that 1 or 2 rate cuts would be a very welcome sight for SoFi investors and the business as a whole. In terms of sentiment, those rate cuts are really going to help put some wind in the sails of SoFi stock price. We know that SoFi is still executing on an extremely high level. And as those rates come down, we know that they're going to bring lending growth back into the mix and maintain that absolutely crazy growth in financial services and the very respectable growth in the tech platform. The story is continuing to get better with SoFi every single quarter. I'm very heavily invested in SoFi. I am happy to hold all of my shares and continue buying a few shares here and there, even though my position is more than fully built out. This is definitely an overweight position for me, but my conviction is extremely strong with SoFi, and I can't wait for the next 5 to 10 years to play out to see where they can really take this thing and what Anthony Noto and the team can turn SoFi into over that time frame. SoFi stock price will have its time, and I believe the gains are going to be absolutely ridiculous once SoFi starts to run. Let me know what you're doing with SoFi stock in the comments below. Are you holding? Are you buying? Are you selling? Are you shorting? Let me know. I want to hear about it. Definitely one of my favorite parts of posting here on YouTube is checking out your comments, having some conversation with you guys down there. I appreciate you being here in a major way. Thanks so much for stopping by. Have an amazing day.